Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm excited to share 7 practical Python projects for beginners. In this video, we're going to be covering a wide range of projects ranging from password generator to URL shortener. In this video, you are going to learn some important concepts in Python that is going to help you understand Python programming better. So let's get started. The first project is a simple password generator. This project uses Python built-in libraries to create a secure random passwords by combining letters, digits, and punctuations. You know that if you want to have a strong password, it has to be a combination of alphabets, digits, and symbols. So we're going to be creating a secure password in this project. And for this project, we're going to be making use of 2 built-in modules. We're going to be using the random module and we're going to be using the string module. So we're going to start by importing the necessary libraries or modules. So here we have import random. Next, we're going to import the string module. So we have import string. Next, I'm going to be creating a function that is going to generate the password. So I'm going to call it generate password. So here we have def generate password. And I'm going to give it a default length of 12. So here I'm going to have length is equal to 12. So next, I'm going to define the character set upon which the password is going to be built from. And I'm going to be making use of the string module for this. So I'm going to call this characters is equal to, here I will have string.aci letters, and I'm going to be combining the letters with digits. So here I'm going to be using string.digits, and I'm going to be putting some symbols, and I'm going to be using string.punctuation. The next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using the random.choice to pick random characters from this pool of character sets and join them into a string of a desired length. So here I'm going to have password is equal to, I'm going to be starting with an empty string, and I'm going to use the join method. Here I'm going to be using the random.choice to pick random characters from this pool of character sets. So here I have random.choice. And here I'm going to have the characters. Then I'm going to be performing a loop depending on the number of characters that we want for our password. So here I'm going to have 4. I'm using a dummy variable in range. Here we have length. And I'm going to be returning the password. So here I have return password. So with this, we've defined a function that can generate passwords for us. So it is time to put it to use. And for this, I can say pwd is equal to generate password. And I'm going to be calling this function without providing argument. And in this case, it's going to generate a password with a length 12. So let's go ahead and print the password. So here I have print pwd. And this is going to print the password for me. Then if I want to specify the number of characters I want for my password, I can provide it in here as argument. So let's say I want a 20 character password. I'm going to put 20 in here. And if I run the program, it's going to generate the password for me. And of course, you can see this is actually a very secured password consisting of alphabet and digits and also symbols. So the next project we're going to be looking at is a guessing game. In this game, the program generates a random number and the player has to guess which number it is. But the good thing about the program is that it's going to give you a hint whether the guess is too high or too low. And for this game, we're going to be using the random module. So we'll start by importing the random module. So here I have import random. Next, I'm going to be creating a function that will be wrapping the game. So I'm going to call it a guessing game. So here we have def guessing game. And I'm going to start by generating a random number. So here I have number is equal to random.randint. And here I'm going to be specifying the range of numbers upon which is going to give me a random number. So I can put it as 1 to 20. So this is going to generate numbers between 1 and 20 for me. The next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to initialize the number of attempts to be equal to 0, because we want a situation whereby the program keeps running until the user provides an accurate guess. And when the user provides an accurate guess, it's going to indicate at what number of attempts the user was able to provide the guess. So here we're going to have attempt is equal to 0. Next, we're going to be displaying the game instruction. Here, we're going to be providing the user with a hint on the possible numbers to guess from. Here, I'm going to write print, and for my game instruction, I'm going to write guess a number between 1 and 20. Next, I'm going to have an indefinite loop that keeps on looping until the user provides a correct guess. So here I have while true. Next, I'm going to be prompting the user to provide a guess. And a lot of times, users may put in wrong data type or wrong input. So in order to avoid this input from crashing the program, I'm going to be putting it inside of a try except block. So here we have try, and inside this try block, I'm going to have guess is equal to input. And here I'm going to have your guess. And because I'm expecting a number, an integer for that matter, I'm going to convert this input into an integer. So I'm going to put it inside of int function to convert whatever value the user enters into an integer. Then I'm going to catch a value error. So here I'm going to have my except block, and I'm only interested in catching value error. So here I will have value error. Then for the message to be shown to the user, I'm going to print enter a valid number. So here we have print enter a valid number. Next, I'm going to continue. Then the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to increment the attempt by 1. So whenever a user makes an attempt, the attempt is going to be incremented by 1. So here I have attempt plus equal to 1. Then afterwards, I'm going to compare the guess with the number generated by the program. So here I'm going to have if guess is less than number, then I'm going to display this message, print too low. And if the guess is greater than the number, I'm going to print too high. So here I'm going to have if guess is greater than number, and the message to be shown is print too high. Then if it is not too high or too low, it means that the user made a correct guess. So I'm going to have an else. Then I'm going to print a congratulations message, also telling the user at what number of attempts they were able to make a correct guess. So here I'll have print, and I'm going to be using an F string for this. So I'll have F, and I'll write congratulations, you correctly guessed the number at, I'll specify the number of attempts. So here we have attempts, and this is going to be number of attempts. This attempt is showing me underline, meaning there is a problem with spelling. So let me look at the spelling I use for the attempt. So what we have is attempt. So I'm going to remove this S. Then I'm going to break the loop. So here I'm going to write a break statement. So with this, I've successfully written a guessing game. So now let's try out the game. So I'm going to do this by calling the function. So I'm going to simply write the name of the function, which is guessing game. So now I'm going to be running the program, and I've been running my programs through the output. So, but this time around, I want to run the program from my terminal. So here I'm going to choose run Python file, and this is the instruction for the game. Guess a number between 1 and 20. So I'm going to provide a guess. So let me put 3 as my guess, and it is too low, which means I needed to provide something bigger. So let me go for 18, and 18 is too high, which means that I need to provide something between 3 and 18. So let's go for 9, and 9 is too low, which means we need a higher number. Let's go for 13. 13 is too high, so we can come down a bit. Let's go for 11. 11 is too low. Let's go for 12. Congratulations, you correctly guessed the number as this number of attempts. So our program is working very perfectly. So the next project we're going to be building is image to PDF converter. This project converts one or more image files into a single PDF document. A lot of times you may have a lot of images in a given folder, and you may want to convert them into one single file, maybe a PDF file. So with this project, you can easily convert many pictures into a PDF file. For this project, we're going to be needing the Pillow library. Of course, this is a third-party library. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to be using pip to install Pillow. So let me go ahead and clear this terminal. So now I'm going to run pip install Pillow to download and install the Pillow library. So here I have pip install Pillow, and this is going to fetch and install the Pillow third-party library. So let me go ahead and clear this program. So what we're going to do is that we're going to be importing image from here. So here I have from here import image, and I'm also going to be using the OS built-in model. So here I have import OS. Then next I'm going to be creating a function that will convert images in a given folder to PDF. So here I'm going to have def convert images to PDF. So that is the name of my function. And for this function, I'm going to be providing 2 parameters. The first parameter corresponding to the part where the images are located. So I'm going to call this folder. Then the next parameter is the output PDF file name. So let's call it output PDF. So I'm going to start by creating a list of image files. So here I have image files, and I'm going to assign it to an empty list. So next, I'm going to be looking through all the files in the path or in this folder and determining which one is an image file. And I'm going to be focusing only on JPEG files. So here I'm going to have for file in os.list.dir. Here I'm going to be providing the path, which is folder. Then next, I'm going to use an if statement to determine which of the files with the file name ending with .jpg. So here I'm going to write if file.ends with. Here I'm going to have .jpg, which means is an image file. Then I'm going to be appending it to the image files list. So here I have image files append, and I'm going to put file there. And the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to determine the actual paths for those files. So here I'm going to create an empty list that is going to hold those paths. So here I have image paths is equal to, I'll start with an empty list. Then the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to be looping through the file names that are inside of this list and get their actual path. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to write for file in image files. Here I'm going to be using os.path.join to get the actual path. So here I have path is equal to os.path.join. Here I'm going to be providing the folder and I'm going to be providing the file name. And next I'm going to append the path into this image path list. So here I have image path.append and I'm going to put path in there. Having done this, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to open those images and then convert them to RGB format. So here I have for path in image path. Then I'm going to be using pillow for this. So here I'm going to have img corresponding to image is equal to image.open, and I'm going to be passing in a path. Then next I'm going to convert that image into RGB format. So here I have image, I can call this image RGB is equal to img.convert. And here I'm going to specify the format, which is RGB. So we'll have RGB. Then the next thing I'm going to do is that I want to have a list of the converted images. So, but before I do this, I need to create an empty list upon which I'm going to append all the converted images. So here I'm going to have images is equal to an empty list. Then after this conversion, I'm going to append each of the converted RGB images into the images list. So here I have images.append. So here I have img RGB. So with this, I'll be able to have a list of all the RGB converted images. And finally, I'm going to save those images into a PDF file. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'll determine whether there are images or converted images inside of this list. So I'm going to start by writing if images. And if there are images there, I want to start by getting the first one and saving it, and then appending the other images into the file. So for this, I'm going to write images. Here I'm targeting the first image in that list. And then I'm going to use the save method. I'm going to write .save. Then afterwards, I'm going to provide the output PDF name. So here I'm going to write output PDF. The next thing I'm going to provide is save all, and then assign it to be true. So I'm going to have save all, and I'm going to assign this to be true. Then next, I want to append the rest of the images. So here I have append images is equal to, here I'm going to specify images from the second item in the images list till the end. So here I'm going to have images, and I'm going to be using a slicing operator starting at 1 all the way to the end. And after this operation, I can go ahead and print a message on the terminal that the images have been converted into a PDF file. So I can have print. This can come after the if statement. So I can have print, you have successfully converted images to a PDF file. and this will be the end of the program. So now we've successfully written a program that can convert images to PDF. The next thing to do is to test the program. And for this, I'm going to be calling the function. So here I have convert images to PDF, and I'm going to be passing the argument. And for the argument, I need to specify the path containing the images. And in this project folder, I have a folder containing image files. So I'll go ahead and provide the path. And the name of this folder is images. So here I'm going to put images as my path. Then the next thing I'm going to put is I'm going to be providing the name of the output PDF file. So I'm going to call it converted images.pdf. So let me go ahead and run this program. So if I run this program, you can see from the terminal, you have successfully converted images to PDF. So let me click on this Explorer to see whether the conversion was done. So you can see we have successfully converted those images into a PDF file. So this is a very simple program that converts images to PDF. So when you have a lot of images that you want to convert into a single document, you can use this program to convert them into a PDF file. Our next project is a QR code generator. This project uses the QR code library, which is of course a third-party library, to generate a QR code from any input that you provide. This can be anything like text or URL. It can be your website address. It can be the URL of your Facebook account. So what this project does is that it helps you generate a QR code. And it's actually a very practical way to learn how to work with external libraries in Python and understand how image generation works. So for this project, we're going to be installing the QR code library. But as part of the requirements for this QR code library, you need to have Pillow installed in your device. But since I already have Pillow in my computer, I only need to install the QR code. So here I'm going to head over to my terminal and use pip to install QR code. So here I have pip install QR code, and this is going to install the QR code for me. Then I'll proceed by importing the QR code library. So here I have import QR code. The next thing I'm going to do is to create a function that will generate this QR code. So here I have def, and for the name, we can call it generate QR as the name. And for the parameters, we're going to have the data from which we want to generate QR code, and we're going to have the file name. So for the file name, we can give it a default value as QR code.png. Then I'm going to put my colon here. And the first thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a QR object. So here we have QR is equal to, and I'm going to be using QR code. And here I'm going to be providing some argument. So first I'm going to provide version. And for the version, I can give it a value of 1. Then next, I'm going to provide the error correction. So here we're going to use error correction is equal to QR code.constants. Then I'm going to use error. You can use any of these error correct. So, but we're going to be using the error correct L. Then next, I'm going to provide the box size. So we have box size. I'm going to give it a value of 10. Then next, I'm going to provide the border. So for the border, we're going to give it a value of 4. So now we successfully created a QR object. The next thing we're going to do is to add data to it. So here I'm going to have QR dot add data. And for the data, I'm going to be passing in the data which was provided in the function definition. The next, I'm going to make the QR. So here we have QR dot make, and I'm going to give it a fit equal to true. So here we have fit is equal to true. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the image, the QR image. So here we have img is equal to QR.make image. Here I'm going to be providing the fill color and the back color. So for the fill color, we're going to be using black, and the back color, we're going to be using white. So here I have fill color. And for the fill color, we're going to give it black. Then we'll have the back color. And for the back color, we're going to give it white. The next we're going to do is to save image. So here we have img.save. And then I'll provide the file name, file name. Then after this operation, we can go ahead and print a message on the terminal that we have successfully created a QR code. So here we can have print QR code successfully created. And that becomes the end of the program. So now if we want to use this QR code program to generate QR code, we can start by calling the function. So we can simply write generate QR. Here, I'm going to be providing the data. This could be URL or text. So let me go ahead and enter the URL. So I can call this HTTPS. I'm going to be providing my personal website.com. And here, I'm going to be providing the file name. But if I don't provide the file name, it is going to use the default name, which is QR code. So let's call it QR, or let's just leave it empty since we already defined a default value. So let me go ahead and run this program. If I run this program, you can see QR code successfully created. So if I go to my Explorer, you can see that I have a QR code image there. So let me click on this image to see how it looks like. So this is my QR code. So if you're with a smartphone, you can just snap it or scan it, then it's going to take you to the URL provided as data for the program. So you can see how simple it is to create a QR code using Python. So now we're going to be building a URL shortener using Python. What this project does is that it takes a long URL as input and converts it into a shorter URL. And a lot of times you may have a very long URL, which can be quite difficult to memorize. But when you shorten the URL, it becomes easier to memorize. I'm going to start by installing the py shorteners. I'm going to head over to my terminal and type pip install py shorteners. That's the correct spelling, and then hit enter. So this is going to download and install the py shorteners library for me. So currently it is installing. In a couple of seconds, the installation should be completed. Okay. Now we have successfully installed the py shorteners. We're going to proceed by importing the library. So here I have import py shorteners. So we're going to be using this. Then the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to create a function that will shorten the URL. So here we have def shorten as the function name, and for the parameter I'm going to put URL. First, I'm going to create object of the py shortener. So I'm going to have obj equal to py shorteners dot shortener. So I'm going to be using this class, and I will put my parentheses. The next thing I'm going to do is to create the short URL. So for this, I'm going to write short URL is equal to object.tiny URL. to-do.short, and then I'll provide the URL. Then finally, I'm going to be returning the short URL. So here we have return short URL. Then I'll go ahead and make use of this function to shorten a URL. So let's say we want to shorten a given URL. Let's call the URL to be equal to, we can say https, we'll have bonaakubwe.com, have about, have maybe quite a very long URL. So we can go ahead and call the function. So we can say short URL is equal to shorten URL, and we're going to provide the URL. So I'll go ahead and print the short URL. So here I have print short URL. So let's go ahead and run this program. So you can see the short URL. You can see it is quite short. So imagine we have a very long name as the URL. This is the likely output you are going to get as the shortened URLs. So you can see how easy it is to shorten URLs using Python. The next project is a command line to-do list. With this project, we can be able to track our daily activities like places we need to go, things we need to buy, or tasks that we need to complete. So instead of having to write your to-do list in a paper, you can use this simple command line to-do list to manage your task. And for this project, we're going to be creating a file. And for this file, we're going to call it a to-do list .txt. We're going to be using a text-based file to store our task. And we're also going to be using 4 functions. The first function is going to load task for us. The second function is going to be used to save task. The third one is going to list out the task in our to-do list. And then the last function is going to run the program, so we can call it main. So first of all, I'm going to start by creating a to-do.txt file. So I'm going to head over to the Explorer, and I'm going to be creating a to-do.txt file. So I'm going to click here and type to-do.txt. So this is the file that is going to be containing our tasks. So I'm going to start by creating the first function, and we're going to call this function load tasks. So here we have def load tasks. And I'm going to put a placeholder in this function. So let's put pass there. The second function is going to be a save task function. So let's call it def save task. And for this function, it is going to contain a parameter named tasks. And we're also going to put a placeholder there. So let's just put pass there. Then the next function is going to be used to list out all the tasks in the to-do.txt file. So here we have list tasks. And here I'm going to pass in task as a parameter. So here we have tasks. And I'm also going to put a placeholder there. Then next, I'm going to be creating our main function, and I'm going to write def main. And I'm also going to put a placeholder there. So have pass. So I'm going to be starting with the first function, which is load task. And basically what this function does is to read the to-do.txt file. And I'm going to be putting this inside of a try except block so that if the file is for one reason or the other moved from the current location, the program will not crash. So here I'm going to have try, and inside of this try block, I'm going to be using a context manager to read the to-do.txt file. So I'm going to have with open. Here I'm going to be providing the path, which is to-do.txt. And I'm going to be providing the access mode, which is R. Then we have as file. Next, I'm going to return the lines inside of the todo.txt file. So here I'm going to have return, and I'm going to use a list comprehension to iterate through all the lines in the todo.txt file and remove the white spaces in the lines. So here I'm going to have line.strip, and I'm going to have for line in file. So this is going to return the entire lines inside of the todo.txt file. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to provide the except block. So here we have except, and we're targeting file not found error. So we have file not found error. And in a situation whereby the file that we're trying to read is not available in the specified location, it should print a message. So we can simply write print file not found. So with this, we're done with the load task. Then the next function we're going to treat is the function that save task. And for this function, we're also going to be using the context manager. So we have with open. Here we're going to specify the path, which is todo.txt. And I'm going to be providing the access mode. Since we don't want to overwrite the contents of the file whenever we perform a save operation, I'm going to be accessing this file using the A mode. So here we have A, and I'm going to have as file. So the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to be writing the task into the file, each task in one line. So here I'm going to have file.write. And here I'm going to have an escape sequence for a new line, and I'm going to be using the join method of the string. So here I'm going to have join. Here I'm going to put the tasks. So this is essentially what this function is going to do, just to append task into our todo.txt file. Then next, we're going to write a function that is going to list out all the tasks available in the todo.txt file. And we're going to start with a situation whereby no task is available in the file. So we can write if not task. Then we can print this message, print no task available. Something like this can serve. And the next thing we're going to do is a situation whereby there are tasks inside the file. So we're going to be using the else clause. And for this else clause, we're going to first of all print a message, task. So here we have print. I can put this in capital letters. So have task. Then the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to print out all the tasks available, giving them numbers starting from 1. Typically, content of a file behaves like sequences in Python, starting with the index of 0. So for the situation whereby you want to start from 1, then you have to make a little modification on how you access the lines inside of the file. So first of all, I'm going to assign index to be equal to 1. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look through the task inside of the file. So here we have for task in task. Then I'm going to list out those tasks starting from 1. So here I'm going to have print, and I'm going to be using an F string for this, and I'm going to provide a placeholder and put index, then put a full stop. Then I can now put the task. So here I'm going to put the second placeholder and put task. Then I'm going to increment the index. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to have index plus equal to 1 to increment the index. So this is how we list out task. And now we'll look at the main function. This is the function that runs the to-do list program. So first of all, we're going to load the task. So we're going to start by saying task is equal to load task. That is the first thing we're going to do. So the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to perform an indefinite loop. And in the course of this indefinite loop, we're going to present a message telling you to choose what you want to do with regards to the to-do list program. Whether you want to see all the tasks available, whether you want to save a task, whether you want to remove a task. So what this is essentially what this main function does. So now we're going to have while true. And the first thing we're going to do is to print a welcome message. So for our welcome message, we're going to write print. And here we can call it to do. Let me use capital lists application, or can call it program. And we can just have welcome to our to-do list program. Then the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to list out a prompt telling you enter 1 if you want to do this, or enter 2 if you want to do another task. So let's start by printing the first one, which is if you want to add task in our to-do.txt file. So here I'm going to write print, and I'm going to use 1. And for this one, if you want to add task, you simply enter 1. So this is add task. Then if you want to list out all the tasks, you press 2 or you enter 2. So here we have print. And for the message, we're going to have 2 here. This one is for listing out tasks. So we can say list tasks. Then the next information to provide to the user is what to impute if they want to remove task. So here we have print. Here we're going to have 3. And 3 is for removing task. So we have remove task. Then the next thing again is if you want to quit the program, you press or you enter 4. Here we have print, and we have 4, and 4 is to quit the program. So this is going to provide a guide to users that want to use the to-do list program. Then the next thing we're going to do is to provide a variable that is going to hold the choice. And this choice is going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you enter 1, it is going to be for adding task. If you enter 2, it is to list out task. If you enter 3, it is to remove task. And if you enter 4, it is to quit the program. So we can call this choice is equal to, and we're going to be using input to receive this data. So have input, and for the message to be shown, we can say enter your choice, and the choice is 1 to 4. So we have 1 to 4. And we may want to remove any white spaces. For instance, somebody may enter 1 and put a space. So in order for that space not to cause our program to fail, we're going to use the strip method to remove the white spaces. So I'm going to wrap this input inside parentheses, and then I'm going to use strip method. So this is going to remove all the white spaces. Then the next thing I'm going to do is determine what happens when user enters their choices. So we're going to start with choice 1. So if choice is equal to 1, what happens? So if a user enters choice 1, it means that the user wants to add a task. So we're going to start by defining the task. So we have new task is equal to, and for the new task, we're also going to prompt the user to provide the task that they want to store in our to-do.txt file. So have input. Here we're going to give a prompt, provide information about the type of information that is expected from the user. So we can have it as enter the new task. And then we can also use strip to remove the white spaces. So I can wrap this around parentheses and use the strip method to remove the white spaces. So if the user enters the task, we want to append that task to our already defined task. So you can see from the beginning of this function that we already have task here. So if you enter a new task, we append it to the task. So what we're going to do now is if new task, that is if user enters a task, then this is what is going to happen. So we're going to have task dot append, and we're going to be appending the new task. Then after appending the new task, then we want to save the task. So here I'm going to have save task, and then I'm going to be passing the task as my argument. So with this, I can be able to save the task. And I can also provide a message so that the user knows that the task has been saved. So here I can have print, and we'll have task has been saved. Okay, so this is a situation whereby the user provides a task. So if the user doesn't provide a task, what happens? So we're going to have an else clause, and in this else clause, we're going to notify the user that no task was entered. So here we have print no task was entered. Okay, so this is for choice 1. So now we're going to look at choice 2, and we're going to be using the elif for this. So here we have elif choice is equal to 2. So when the user enters 2, it means that the person wants to see the entire task. So the next thing we're going to do is to list out the task, and we're going to be using the list task function for this. So here we have list task, and we pass in task as argument. So here we have tasks. Then next, we're going to be looking at when the user enters choice 3. So here we have elif choice is equal to 3. So in the situation whereby the user enters 3, it means that the user wants to remove a given task. So first of all, we're going to be using a try except block to ensure that if user makes a wrong choice in input, it doesn't disrupt the program. So if the user enters 3, it means that they want to remove a task. So we're going to start by listing out the task, so the user can see all the tasks numbered and then enter the task that they want to remove. So we're going to write list task, and then we'll pass in task as our argument. Next, we're going to be using the try except block to ensure that our program is not disrupted if the user enters a wrong number. So we have try, and inside this try block, we're going to have our index, and this index has to correspond to the line number for the task that we want to remove. So here I'm going to have input, and for the input, we want to give a message, enter the task number that you want to remove. And I'm also going to convert this to an integer because we're expecting a number. So I'm going to put int here. Next, I'm going to be removing the line using the pop method. So I can call this removed is equal to task dot pop. And here we're going to be using index -1. Remember that our index, we added it 1 initially since we're starting our numbering from 1. So if you want to make reference to the actual index, you have to subtract 1 from it. So now we're going to save our task, and we have save task, and then we'll pass in the task as our argument. Then afterwards, we're going to print a message showing that the task has been removed. So we can write print, and for this I'm going to be using an f string, and here I'm going to say removed, and here I'm going to provide the task that is removed. So we can put remove there. So the next thing I'm going to do is to provide the except block. So here we have the except, and we're targeting value error. So here we have value error, and for the message we're going to print, please enter a valid number. So we have print, please enter a valid number. Then finally, we're going to look at when the user enters choice 4. And for this, I'm going to have elif choice is equal to 4. So if the choice is equal to 4, it means that the user wants to quit the program. So we can print a goodbye message to the user. So have print, and we can have goodbye, and the program quits. Then I'm going to put a break statement here to terminate the while loop. Then finally, I'm going to put an else clause in case the user makes an invalid choice. So have else, and for the message, we're going to print, please enter a valid choice. And with this, we've successfully written a to-do list program. So let's go ahead and try out this program to see whether it is working as expected. So now I'm going to start by calling the main function. So here we have main. And for this function, I'm going to run it from terminal. So run Python file. So you can see the welcome message. Welcome to our to-do list program. 1 to add task, 2 to list out task, 3 to remove task, and 4 to quit. So let's start with the 1. So I can write 1 here, enter the task. I can write read for 15 minutes and hit enter. And as you can see, the task has been saved. So if we want to see the task, I can simply enter 2. So 2 is going to list out all the tasks in the to-do list. So here you can see 1, read for 15 minutes. So let's add another task, and this one I'm going to put 1, and for the second task I'm going to put running, and this has been saved. So let's see the list of our tasks. I'll press 2. You can see we have read for 15 minutes, running. Then I can add another task, so I can simply put 1 here, and for this I'm going to enter cook and hit enter. So if I want to see the task, I can enter 2, and now you can see I have read for 15 minutes, running, and cook. So if I want to remove task, I'll simply press 3, and it is going to ask me which task do I want to remove. So we have read for 15 minutes, running, and cooking. So let's remove the third one. So I'm going to put 3. And let's go ahead and list out the task to see whether cook was removed. So I'm going to put 2. So now we have only 2 tasks there, which is read for 15 minutes and running. So this is how you can create a simple to-do list task on the terminal using Python. Our next project is a command line invoice generator. With this project, we'll be able to input details like product name, quantity, and price, and then generate an invoice with the total cost or total price. So we're going to start by defining the function that is going to generate this invoice. So I'm going to give it a name, generate invoice. So we have def generate invoice as the name of the function. The next thing we're going to do is to print a welcome message. So here we have print, and we have welcome to the command line invoice generator. Then afterwards, we're going to initialize an empty list to store the items. So here we have items is equal to, and then we'll define an empty list. Next, we're going to have an infinite loop that is going to prompt the user to provide product details. So here we have while true. To prompt the user for the product name, we can have product name is equal to, and we're going to be using the input function for this. So here we have input, and for the message, we can write enter product name. Next, we're going to provide a mechanism to quit the loop. So here, we're going to determine if the input entered by the user is done. In that case, the loop should break. So here we have if product name is equal to, and we have done. So we're going to break off from the loop. So have break here. Then the next thing we're going to do is to prompt the user to enter the quantity and the price. So here we're going to have QTY for quantity is equal to, and we're going to be putting an input inside of an int function. So here we have int and we have input. And here we're going to provide the message. So the message is going to be enter quantity. The next thing we're going to do is to prompt the user to enter the unit price. So here we can have price per item is equal to, since we're expecting a price, we need to put this inside of a float. So here we have float and we have input. And for the message, we're going to write enter price. The next thing we're going to do is to determine the total price. And of course, the total price is the product of quantity and the price per item. So here we have total price is equal to QTY multiplied by price per item. So this is going to give us the total price. So having gotten the product name, the quantity, price per item, and total price, we can have a tuple containing all these values for a given product. So here we're going to be appending that tuple into the items list. So here we have items.append, and I'm going to be appending a tuple there. So for the first item in the tuple, I'm going to have the product name, then followed by the quantity. So have our QTY, then followed by price per item. So we're going to have price per item, then followed by total price. So here we have total price. So this will go on and on until the user enters done as the product name. So the next thing to do is to generate the invoice. And I'm going to start by printing a message. I can print something like invoice. I can have it in caps. So the next thing I'm going to do is to print the headings. And for the headings, I'm going to print. For the first heading, we're going to have the product, followed by quantity, followed by price, and followed by total price. So here I'm going to have product, and I'm going to be using a tab. So I'm going to be using the escape sequence for tab. So have a tab followed by quantity. So here I have quantity. This should be quantity. Then we'll have another tab followed by price. So we'll have price. Then we'll have another tab followed by amount. So this is going to give us the headings. So the next thing I'm going to do is to look through the items and identify the individual product names with their corresponding prices, unit prices, and the total price. But before I do this, I need to put an underline to separate the headers from the individual items that make up the invoice. So I can have print, and I'm going to be putting a hyphen there, and I want this hyphen to be printed 50 times. So I'm going to put asterisk here and put 50. So the next thing I'm going to do is to look through the items in the items list. But before I do this, I need to establish the total amount. That is the summation of all the total prices. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to have total amount, and I'm going to initialize this to 0. Then I'll now look through the items in the items list. So here I have for item in items, and I'm going to be extracting the individual product name, quantity, price per item, and total price. Now I'm going to be getting values corresponding to product name, quantity, price per item, and total from the tuple. So here I'm going to have product name. I'm going to have a comma, and I'll have quantity, which is QTY. I'll have comma, then I'll have price per item, Then next, I'm going to have total price. And then I'm going to assign it to the tuple item, because item is of course a tuple. So have item here. Then next, I'm going to print out those values as I look through the items in the items list. So here I'm going to have print, and I'm going to be using an F string for this. So I have F. The first thing I'm going to target is the product name to match with the header. So here I have product name. Then after the product name, I'm going to have a tab, then followed by quantity. So we have QTY. Then after the quantity, we're going to have a tab, then followed by total price. So we're going to have total price. And we have product name here, we have quantity, we have total price, and we did not include the price per item. So after this tab here, we're going to have a placeholder here. I'm going to have a tab here, and this is going to be price per item. So this should be price per item. Then the next thing I'm going to do is that for each iteration, since I have the total price, I can be adding it up to the total amount until I arrive at the overall total amount for the items being imputed in this invoice generator. So here I'm going to have total amount plus equal to total price. Then after this loop, I'm going to print a line before I now provide the total amount. So here I'm going to have print, and I'm going to put a hyphen here and multiply it by 50. Then next, I'm going to provide the total amount and the corresponding value. So here I'm going to put print, and I'm going to be using an F string. So first, I'm going to put total amount, and I'll put a colon and then provide a placeholder where I'm going to put the value corresponding to the total amount. So here I will have total amount. And with this, we've created an invoice generator. So let's go ahead and use this invoice generator. So I'm going to start by calling the function to have generate invoice. And I'm going to be running this program from my terminal. So I'll head over to run Python file. So you can see the welcome message. Welcome to the command line invoice generator. So enter product name. I can enter this as car. Then enter the quantity. I can enter 2. Then enter the amount. I can enter 1000. It's going to prompt me for another product. So for this one, I can call it book. And for the quantity, I can put it as 12. And then for the price, I can put it at 12.50. I'll continue again. Product name, I can enter pencil. And for the quantity, I can enter 12. And for the amount, I can enter 0.5. I'll continue until when I'm done, I can simply enter done here and hit enter. And this is going to generate the invoice for me. So here we have the header for the invoice. We have invoice here. We have product, we have quantity, we have price, and we have amount. And this is the gross total. So this is our command line invoice program. So this is where we're going to be stopping in this video. This project will not only help you improve your coding skills, but will also introduce you to various libraries and techniques that will make you a better programmer. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you've not subscribed, please endeavor to do so. Thank you.